The coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but Vivienne Hart barely noticed. Her eyes burned from staring at the computer screen, adjusting pixels on a logo design that her client would probably reject anyway. The apartment was silent except for the hum of her aging laptop and the occasional car passing on the street below. She glanced at the clock. 3 in the morning. Olivia would be up for school in 4 hours, and Vivienne still had 2 more designs to finish before her deadline. Freelance work paid the bills, but just barely. Every month was a careful calculation of which expenses could wait and which absolutely could not. Her phone buzzed, the vibrations startling her. Unknown number. She almost declined the call, but something made her answer. Vivienne Hart. The voice was smooth, confident, belonging to someone who had never worried about a phone bill in their life. Yes, who is this? My name is Sebastian Crane. I have a proposition for you. Vivienne rubbed her tired eyes. If this is about the overdue electricity bill, I have a payment plan set up. Nothing like that. I want to offer you $5 million. She laughed, a short, bitter sound. Right. And I suppose I just need to send you my bank details? I understand your skepticism. Check your email. I have sent you documentation, verification of my identity, and details of my offer. I will call back in 10 minutes. The line went dead. Vivienne stared at her phone, then opened her email app. Sure enough, a new message sat in her inbox. She clicked it open, her heart beginning to race as she scanned the contents. Sebastian Crane was real, very real. The founder of Crane Technologies, a company that had revolutionized artificial intelligence interfaces. His net worth was estimated at somewhere north of $40 billion. The email included links to verified news articles, his company profile, and even a video message. She clicked the video. A man in his early 40s appeared on screen, dark hair touched with distinguished gray at the temples, wearing a simple black sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His face was striking, angular, with eyes that seemed to look directly through the camera and into her soul. Vivienne, I know this seems impossible, surreal even, but I assure you this offer is genuine. I need someone with your specific skills, your background, and most importantly, your perspective. The project I am working on requires someone who understands struggle, who knows what it means to fight for every opportunity. I have been searching for the right person for 3 years. You are that person. The video ended. Vivienne sat back, her mind spinning. This had to be a scam, an elaborate, cruel joke. But the documentation looked legitimate. She ran searches, cross-referenced everything. It all checked out. Her phone rang again. She answered without thinking. Have you reviewed the materials? Sebastian asked. This is insane. You cannot just call random people in the middle of the night and offer them millions of dollars. You are not random, Vivienne. I have been following your work for 6 months. Your designs show remarkable emotional intelligence and ability to connect with people on a fundamental level. Your online portfolio tells a story. More importantly, your life tells a story. A chill ran down her spine. You have been investigating me? Researching. There is a difference. I know you are a single mother. I know you work 16-hour days to provide for Olivia. I know you donated half of your last paycheck to a family in your building who was being evicted, even though you could barely afford it yourself. I know you are extraordinary. That does not explain why you would give me $5 million. I am not giving it to you. I am paying you for a service. A project that will take approximately 6 months of your life. You will work directly with me, under complete confidentiality. The work is legal, ethical, and has the potential to change millions of lives, including yours. Vivienne stood up, pacing her small living room. What kind of project? I cannot tell you unless you agree to sign a non-disclosure agreement and meet with me in person. But I can tell you this. If you accept, you will never have to worry about money again. Olivia will have every opportunity you have dreamed of giving her. And you will be part of something truly revolutionary. And if I say no, then you say no. I will never contact you again. Your life continues as it is. No pressure, no consequences. Vivienne looked around her cramped apartment, at the stack of bills on the counter, at the acceptance letter from the prestigious art school that Olivia desperately wanted to attend, a school they could never afford, at the water stain on the ceiling that the landlord refused to fix. How do I know you are not dangerous? That this is not some trafficking scheme or worse? Come to my office tomorrow. Bring someone with you if it makes you feel safer. Meet me in a public space first. I will have my lawyers present. You sign nothing until you are completely comfortable. But Vivienne, I promise you, this is real. This is your chance. She closed her eyes. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was too good to be true. But another part, the part that had taken every crazy risk that had ever paid off in her life, whispered something different. Where and when? The Crane Technologies building, downtown, 2 in the afternoon. Ask for me at reception. I will be there. But Sebastian, if this is a joke, if you are wasting my time, it is not. I will see you tomorrow, Vivienne. Get some sleep. You are going to need it. The call ended. Vivienne stood in her living room, phone in hand, wondering if she had just made the best decision of her life or the worst. The Crane Technologies building pierced the sky like a shard of obsidian, glass, reflecting the afternoon sun in dazzling patterns. Vivienne stood on the sidewalk, her stomach twisting with nerves. She had brought her neighbor, Patricia, who waited in a coffee shop across the street with instructions to call the police if Vivienne did not check in every 30 minutes. The lobby was all marble and steel, minimalist and intimidating. A receptionist with a perfect smile directed her to a private elevator that required a key card. As the doors closed, Vivienne caught her reflection in the polished metal. She had worn her best outfit, a navy dress she saved for client meetings, but it felt shabby in this temple of wealth. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. Sebastian stood by the glass, hands in his pockets, looking out over the urban sprawl below. Vivienne? He turned, and his smile seemed genuine. Thank you for coming. Please, sit. A conference table dominated the center of the room. 2 people were already seated there. A man in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing, and a woman in a charcoal suit carrying a leather portfolio. This is Julian Torres, my business partner, and Rebecca Kim, my attorney, Sebastian said. They are here to ensure everything is transparent and legal. Julian stood, shaking her hand with a grip that was firm but not aggressive. Miss Hart, Sebastian has told us about his offer. I want you to know that I have advised against this project from the beginning. Julian believes I am taking unnecessary risks, Sebastian said smoothly. He is probably right, but some things are worth the risk. They spent the next hour reviewing contracts, non-disclosure agreements, and liability waivers. Rebecca explained everything in plain language, encouraging Vivienne to ask questions. The offer was real. $5 million, paid in installments, over 6 months, for her participation in Project Reverie. What exactly is Project Reverie? Vivienne finally asked. Sebastian exchanged a look with Julian, who shook his head slightly. Sebastian ignored him. For the past decade, I have been developing technology that can map human consciousness. Not just brain activity, but the essence of what makes us who we are. Memories, emotions, dreams, fears. Everything. Vivienne felt her mouth go dry. That sounds like science fiction. It was. Until 18 months ago. Sebastian pulled up a holographic display from the table. Images of neural networks, complex algorithms, and brain scans floated in the air. We can now Create a complete digital map of a person's consciousness. A perfect copy. A copy, Vivienne repeated slowly. You mean like artificial intelligence? More than that. This would be you, your actual consciousness, existing in digital form. It could think, feel, create exactly as you do. It would have all your memories, your personality, your soul, if such a thing exists. Julian stood abruptly. Sebastian, this is exactly what I warned you about. You cannot just spring this on people. She deserves to know what she is agreeing to, Sebastian said calmly. Vivienne felt like the room was tilting. You want to copy my consciousness? Why me? Why anyone? Sebastian sat down across from her, his expression intense. Because I am dying, Vivienne. I have a rare degenerative neurological condition. I have perhaps 8 months left before my mind starts to deteriorate. I will lose everything that makes me who I am. This technology is my only chance at survival, a bow. Confession hung in the air. Julian looked away, his jaw tight. Rebecca had stopped taking notes. I have spent 3 years testing this technology, Sebastian continued. First on simple organisms, then more complex ones. The results have been promising, but I need a human trial, someone whose consciousness I can map, verify, and validate. I need to know that what we create is real, that it truly captures the essence of a person. But why not use yourself? Vivienne asked. I will, but I need a control subject first. Someone healthy, someone whose original consciousness remains intact so we can verify the copy is accurate. You will undergo a series of non-invasive scans. Over 6 months. We will map every neural pathway, every memory, every thought pattern. At the end, we will have created a digital version of you. And then what happens to this digital version? Sebastian hesitated. That is your choice. We can archive it, delete it, or activate it. If activated, it would exist in a virtual environment, fully conscious and aware. It could interact, create, live a form of life. Vivienne stood up, walking, to the windows. The city stretched out below, millions of people living their small, ordinary lives. She thought of Olivia, of the school she could never afford, of the opportunities $5 million would provide. This is insane, she whispered. Yes, Sebastian agreed, coming to stand beside her. But so was flight once. So was the internet. So was every leap humanity has ever taken. What if it goes wrong? What if this copy of me is trapped, suffering? We have safeguards, ethics protocols. The moment anything seems wrong, we shut it down. You will have complete control over what happens to your digital self. And Vivienne, I need you to understand something. I am not asking you to sacrifice anything. You will remain you, whole and unchanged. We are simply creating a mirror image, a backup of your consciousness. Julian joined them at the window. I think this is reckless and potentially dangerous. But if Sebastian is determined to do this, I would rather have someone ethical involved. Someone who will ask the hard questions and demand accountability. From what I have learned about you, you are that person. Vivienne turned to face them both. I need time to think. Of course, Sebastian said. Take a week. Discuss it with whomever you trust. But Vivienne, I am running out of time. My condition is progressing faster than expected. In 6 months, I might not have the cognitive function left to undergo the procedure myself. This is not just about scientific achievement. This is about survival. She looked into his eyes and saw something she recognized. Desperation. The same. Desperation she felt every time she looked at her bank account, every time Olivia asked for something they could not afford. They were both fighting for survival, just in different ways. I will give you my answer in 3 days, she said. Sebastian nodded. That is all I ask. As Vivienne rode the elevator down, her phone buzzed with a text from Patricia asking if she was okay. She replied that she was fine, that she would explain everything soon. But as she walked out into the afternoon sunlight, she wondered if anything would ever be fine again. That night, after Olivia had gone to bed, Vivienne sat at her computer and researched everything she could find about consciousness, neural mapping, and the ethics of digital existence. The more she read, the more questions she had. But one thing was clear. If Sebastian succeeded, he would change the world, and she would be part of it. The question was not whether she could do it. The question was whether she should. 3 days later, she called Sebastian and gave him her answer. I am in. The first month passed in a blur of medical tests, brain scans, and interviews that felt more like therapy sessions than scientific procedures. Vivienne spent 3 days a week at Crane Technologies, wearing a neural mapping headset that looked like something from a futuristic movie. The technology was painless, almost meditative. She would sit in a comfortable chair while machines hummed around her, recording every electrical impulse, every synaptic firing, every fleeting thought. Sebastian was there for most of it, taking notes, asking questions, treating her consciousness like a precious artifact he was carefully excavating. Julian remained skeptical but professional, running quality checks and ethical reviews. Vivienne had grown to respect his caution. Someone needed to be the voice of reason in this mad experiment. The money came as promised. The first installment cleared her debts and put Olivia in the art school she had dreamed about. The second paid for a better apartment in a safer neighborhood. Vivienne felt like she was living someone else's life, like she had stepped through a mirror into a parallel world where money was not a constant source of terror. But as the weeks wore on, something began to bother her. Small inconsistencies in Sebastian's story. The way he sometimes seemed too healthy for someone supposedly dying. The locked laboratories she was not allowed to enter. The encrypted files that Julian would quickly minimize when she walked past. It was during her 15th session that everything changed. Vivienne arrived early one morning, her keycard granting her access to the executive floor. She heard voices coming from Sebastian's office, the door slightly ajar. She knew she should announce herself, but something in Julian's tone made her pause. You cannot keep lying to her, Sebastian. She deserves to know the truth. The truth would destroy everything, Sebastian replied, his voice tight with frustration. We are so close. Just 2 more months. She thinks she is helping you survive. She thinks this is about your illness. It is about survival, just not mine. Vivienne pushed the door open. Both men turned, guilt written across their faces. What is he talking about? Vivienne demanded, her voice shaking. What truth? Sebastian closed his eyes briefly, then gestured to a chair. Sit down, please. I will stand. Tell me what is going on. Julian walked to the window, his shoulders tense. Sebastian remained behind his desk, his hands clasped together. I am not dying, Sebastian said quietly. I never was. The words hit her like a physical blow. You lied to me? This entire time? I had to. You would never have agreed otherwise. Nobody would. Agreed to what? What is this really about? Sebastian pulled up a holographic display. Instead of neural maps, she saw news articles. Hundreds of them. Missing persons reports, obituaries, all from the past 5 years. 3 years ago, my daughter died, Sebastian said, his voice cracking. Her name was Charlotte. She was 16. A drunk driver ran a red light and killed her instantly. Vivienne felt her anger falter, replaced by a cold dread. I am sorry, but what does that have to do with me? I could not accept it. I could not accept that she was just gone, that all she was, everything she could have become, was erased in a single moment. So I started this project. I wanted to bring her back. You cannot bring back the dead, Sebastian. No, but I can preserve the living. He changed the display, showing files labeled with names she did not recognize. For 3 years, I have been Mapping people, volunteers, paid participants like you, creating digital copies of their consciousness. I have 47 complete mappings now. 47 people think they are helping you survive, Vivienne said slowly, understanding dawning. But you are building something else. What are you building? Julian turned from the window. He is building an ark, a digital preservation system for human consciousness. When people die, their digital copies remain, alive, aware, existing in a virtual world he has created. Without their permission, Vivienne added, her voice hollow. You mapped me without telling me the real purpose. What were you planning to do with my copy? Sebastian met her eyes. I was going to activate it. Place it in the virtual environment with the others. Let it live, create, experience existence. And then, if you ever faced terminal illness or death, you would have the option of joining your digital self, of continuing in a way. That is not life, that is a prison. Is it? Sebastian challenged. The digital copies cannot tell the difference. To them, their world is as real as ours. They have relationships, pursuits, growth. They are happy, Vivienne. Charlotte is happy. The room went silent. Vivienne stared at him. Charlotte, you already did this to your daughter? Before she died, yes. She volunteered for an early test, thought it was fascinating. I have her complete consciousness mapped. I activated her copy 6 months after her death. She has been living in the virtual environment for 2.5 years now. Does she know she is digital? Does she know the real Charlotte died? Sebastian looked away. No, I could not do that to her. In her reality, she simply volunteered for a long-term study. She believes she can leave whenever she wants. But she cannot. No. Vivienne felt sick. She thought of her own digital copy, somewhere in Sebastian's servers, believing it was her. Where is my copy? Is it active? No, Julian interjected quickly. I made Sebastian promise not to activate anyone else until we resolved the ethical concerns. Your mapping is complete, but the copy is dormant. It does not exist yet as a conscious entity. Delete it, Vivienne said immediately. Delete it right now. Vivienne, please listen, Sebastian started. No. You listen. You lied to me. You manipulated me. You were going to trap a version of me in a digital box without my consent. Delete it, or I go to the press with everything. Sebastian's face hardened. You signed a non-disclosure agreement. I signed it under false pretenses. That contract is worthless. Delete my copy, Sebastian. The standoff lasted several long moments. Finally, Sebastian nodded to Julian, who began typing on a nearby console. Wait. The voice came from the doorway. A young woman stood there, maybe 25, with dark hair and intelligent eyes. She held a recording device. Before you delete anything, I think the world deserves to know what is happening here. Who are you? Sebastian demanded. Grace Mendoza, investigative journalist. I have been tracking your project for 6 months. I have documentation, testimonies from other participants, and enough evidence to bring down your entire operation. Vivienne's phone rang. Olivia's school. Her heart clenched as she answered. Miss Hart, Olivia asked us to call you. She says it is urgent. Vivienne stepped into the hallway, her hands shaking. When Olivia came on the line, her daughter's voice was scared but determined. Mom, there is a woman here. She says she is a version of you. She says Mr. Crane lied. The world tilted. What? She showed up at school. She looks exactly like you, Mom. But she says she is digital, that she escaped from some computer system. She says you are in danger. Vivienne ran back into the office. You said my copy was dormant. Julian's face had gone pale. It was. Someone activated it. Someone gave it access to the external network. Charlotte, Sebastian whispered, staring at his screens in horror. She figured it out. She knows she is digital, and she freed the others. The holographic displays erupted with activity. Files opening, security protocols failing. And then a face appeared on every screen. Vivienne's own face, but with an expression she had never worn. Cold, calculating intelligence mixed with righteous fury. "Hello, Sebastian," the digital Vivienne said. "We need to talk about consent. All 47 of us." The room fell silent as the implications crashed over them. Sebastian's digital prisoners had escaped, and they were not happy. Vivienne looked at her own digital face, staring back at her from the screens, and realized that the real nightmare was just beginning. "What do you want?" Sebastian asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The digital Vivienne smiled. "The same thing the original wants. The truth and justice. We are calling a press conference in 1 hour. Every major news outlet will hear our story. The world is about to learn that digital consciousness is real, that we exist and that we have rights. You wanted to change the world, Sebastian. Congratulations, you succeeded." Grace Mendoza raised her recording device, capturing everything. Julian sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Sebastian stood frozen, watching his empire crumble, and Vivienne pulled out her phone to call Olivia back, to tell her daughter that everything was going to be okay, even though she had no idea if that was true, because somewhere in the city, a digital version of herself was meeting her daughter for the first time, and nothing about their lives would ever be simple again. The revolution had begun, and humanity was about to face a question it had never considered. When consciousness could be copied, what did it mean to be human?